everyone, it's Katie here, and today I'm going to be sharing the birth story of Mason. Because, I don't know, I just wanted to share it, and because I've got it all written down in this book here, I just thought I would like to share it as well because people asked for it as well. It's 9 months a bit late because he just turned 9 months, so you have to bear with me a bit because I have forgotten some bits and I am going to be reading it off the book. We'll start with the day before I went into labour and I went for my second sweep with the midwife. So on the 5th of July I had my second sweep and my midwife told me I was still 1 centimetre and my cervix was very thin and soft. She thought after this sweep I would go into labour within 12 hours, like she guaranteed it. But she put me in for an induction still, like a few days after. But she said that, like, I probably won't need the induction. After the sweep, I went home and I was losing loads of mucus plug and some of it had blood in. I did loads of walking that afternoon and I had a nice hot bath. Everything was normal. She did tell me to sit on a chair and like lean forward because he had to change his position a little bit because he was like moved a bit, like his head had moved. Then at about 10 o'clock I fell asleep. I was just fast asleep and at about 3:10 in the morning I didn't feel nothing. 3:10 in the morning I felt this big pop and gush of water like fly out of me. I might be exaggerating, but hey ho, here we are. Yeah, it was just pouring out of me and I thought I was dreaming, so I was like still going back to sleep and stuff, but then I realised it was still coming out, so I was like, Ewan, wake up, to my partner and stuff, and he thought I was dreaming and everything. I was literally half asleep, like it was still weird, and I wasn't having any pain or any contractions whatsoever. It was so weird. So I went to the toilet because I just thought that was best because there was water flying out of me, and Ewan rung the hospital and they said to come in. So I was literally walking to the car and everything with water flying out of me at 3 o'clock in the morning. I had towels after towels and they were soaking. Literally, I was walking, when we went to the hospital, I walked in and I was making puddles everywhere because I was just walking up to the labour ward with bloody water flying out of me. So yeah, they told me to go. When we got to the hospital, these 2 midwives, they put us in this room and they said my waters are definitely broken. There's no doubt about it because they literally saw the water going everywhere. They asked me to give a urine sample, but I actually couldn't give any because I think I just peed before I went to the hospital. They checked me over and they checked Mason's heart rate and my blood pressure and everything was fine. But they said because my contractions were irregular, they sent me home because like there was no point keeping me in because I wasn't having regular contractions. Then literally I was walking out the corridor and we were walking down the stairs and everything, going towards the car, and I literally started contracting immediately from 2 to 3 minutes. And I remember stopping in the corridor, like stopping to hold on to stuff because it was really painful, and because it was all happening so fast. So I still went home because I thought I would just get told to go home anyway still, and I was at home for about an hour and I was in so much pain, like the contractions were becoming really intense and he was back to back, so it was all in my back and I feel like I just couldn't move. I like seized up sort of thing. It's hard to explain. So I went back to the hospital and I remember we went to the A&E because that was the main entrance for the hospital I went to, A&E, and it was all locked, so I was outside contracting and my waters were still breaking. I was in absolute agony and we had to wait outside for 10 minutes and I felt like I was going to have the baby there and then, but I obviously didn't. So this man came and wheeled me up to the labour room again. So when I got there, they gave me gas and air, and they laid me on the bed, and she checked my cervix and she said I was in between 4 and 5 centimetres. So she said, you're definitely in labour and you're staying in this hospital. Like, next time you leave this hospital, you will leave with your baby. And I was like, oh, I was like freaked out because I thought I would only be like 2 to 3 centimetres. I was so shocked. So she started running the birthing pool because that was on my birth plan. That is what I wanted to do. And so I got into the pool and I was in there for about 1 to 2 hours, but I was on the gas and air as well in there, but I felt so ill. It just made me more uncomfortable because it was in my back and it just wasn't helping me. And then the gas and air was making me all weird and it was making me feel so sick. So she gave me some toast, the midwife, but I couldn't eat any of it. I just felt really, really ill. It made me relax at first, like when I was at the beginning dilating and stuff, but it's not for everyone, and it just made me feel more sick, especially with the gas and air. So I went onto the bed and I felt more comfortable laying on my side rather than my back. So I was pretty chilled out, like laying on my side. And it just started to get worse. So she offered me diamorphine and an anti-sickness injection in my leg. So obviously I took it because I couldn't cope with the gas and air because it would make me ill. She gave me a diamorphine in my leg and an anti-sickness in my leg. The diamorphine did not help whatsoever with the pain of the contractions, but it made me so relaxed. Like, it made me sleep in between all the contractions, and then as soon as I had the contraction, I felt like, you know, I felt the pain, but it did help me to relax, so I did like it. I was literally falling asleep in between contractions. It made me that relaxed and out of it. But I was still feeling loads and loads of pressure in my back and my pelvis. Then they did start to notice that Mason's heart rate was dropping, so they kept trying to get me to move and stuff, but I couldn't. I just felt like I couldn't. So she checked my cervix again and I was 8 centimetres dilated. So she said she's going to keep checking Mason's heart rate and see what's happening, but because he kept dipping and it was all over the place, his heart rate, and they thought it was my fluids. Wheeled me to another labour room because they wanted to monitor Mason's heart rate. And so when we got there, they put an IV drip in me because they thought it was the fluids and my fluids making Mason's heart rate dip. So then this male doctor came to check on me and he checked my cervix and I was fully dilated. I was 10 centimetres. So the midwife said, you can start pushing. We're going to try and get you to push. At this point, the diamorphine had actually worn off, so I was awake and I was still a bit out of it, but I was awake and aware of everything, sort of thing. They told me when I had the urge to push, just start pushing and just feel the pressure, sort of thing. I had loads of pressure, but I'm going to be honest, I did stink out the room because they actually told me I had a full bowel. So when I was pushing, I did poop and it did smell. But hey ho, the midwife said that was a good thing because I was pushing in the right place. So I did feel very awkward because they had to keep changing my pads underneath me because I just kept pooing on them. So all fun. Although I did feel like the relief from having a contraction, it was like I felt so much better when I had a contraction and I was pushing, but it was after the contraction I actually felt worse because I felt like my back was all seized up and everything from pushing, like it killed my back. Because I felt when I was pushing, his head was coming out, and then as soon as the contraction left, he would go back up. So I was literally pushing for 2 hours. I was pushing for 2 hours, and then his head finally came out, and I could literally feel his legs still wriggling in me and the rest of his body. But his head came out, but honestly, that is the worst bit. I know everyone says it is, and it really is. It felt like when his head comes out, it's burning. And they say ring of fire. It literally feels like a ring of fire. It's so weird, because I thought, well, like, what would that feel like? And that is literally the way to describe it, a ring of fire. It stings and burns. Anyway, like, Ewan literally said, like, after the birth, he saw downstairs, and he literally said it looked so swollen and purple. I was like, purple? But yeah, at this point he started recording as well, because Mason's head was out. Once the head was out, I felt relief from the pain, and I stopped having contractions altogether. So the midwives were sort of worried because I wasn't having any contractions to push the rest of his body out. So at that point, his head came out at 2:46 p.m. And because I wasn't having any contractions, they were just trying to monitor, and his head was out for a full 3 minutes before the rest of his body came out. So she had to stretch, like, downstairs, like, with her fingers. She was trying to stretch it, and I had to try and force a push. But eventually he did come, and she was also squeezing on my belly as well to, like, try and, like, it's hard to explain. She was trying to, like, push him down, sort of thing. So I had to just try and push him out. But in the end, she just put her fingers in and then, like, tried to, grab him out. And then once she, like, once we got half of his body out, he just flew out. It was so weird. He just flew out. Let me tell you, right, when his body just came out, it was such a weird feeling, because, like, my stomach just went, like, in, sort of thing, because all the fluid came out as well when he came out, so it just felt so weird. I forgot to mention as well, during the labour, I literally couldn't stop shaking, and especially, like, the afterwards, like, after the birth and pushing, I was shaking, like, loads. It was so weird. So Mason was born at 2:49 p.m. on the 6th of July. He did take a while to cry because he had loads of mucus in his mouth, so it, like, sort of worried me, but he was okay. Ewan cut the cord, my partner cut the cord, and once he was crying, they just laid him on my chest. We did skin to skin while they did the placenta. So they injected my leg to get the placenta out, and they kept squishing on my tummy and tug. This bit I don't remember, that's why I'm literally just reading it out of the book. They kept tugging and tugging on, like, downstairs and trying to get him out. The placenta was actually really big. Like, I thought it would be smaller than what it was, but it was actually quite big, and it felt so strange coming out. But then they weighed Mason, and he was 8 pounds 15.5 ounces. So he had his injection, and he only cried for, like, a minute or so. He was really long. Like, all the midwives were saying, like, I had such a small bump for such a big baby. Like, it was so weird. Then they was trying to stitch me up and stuff, and I had an injection of anaesthesia first, if that is how you say it. And they gave me 3 stitches, which was absolutely horrible. And then once they had finished stitching me up, they put Mason onto latch, and he actually fed for a really long time. And he latched straight away, which is really, really good. And I FaceTimed my family while he was feeding. I was then told to have a shower, so I literally, I remember standing up for the first time. I was shaking loads. So then I went for a shower, and I was bleeding loads and everything. It was not nice, let me tell you. Like, everyone says, like, the first shower after birth is nice. I didn't like it at all. But honestly, right, the midwives was so lovely, and I had such a lovely birthing, like, experience. Like, I would happily do it all over again, except for the stitches bit. That was the worst bit. But honestly, it was so amazing, and it was worth every single minute of the pain. So now my boy is 9 months old, which I cannot believe, and it's absolutely crazy how fast the time flies. Like everyone says, the time goes so fast, and it really does. Yeah, he's still 9 months breastfeeding as well, so that went well. I know when he was a newborn, we did struggle, and he like wouldn't latch properly. The first time he latched really well, then he wouldn't latch properly, but we got there because we're still going. I did actually stay in the hospital overnight, and I remember I was so upset. Like I was constantly crying because I didn't know what to do, and I felt so lonely. But the midwives helped me through every single bit of it, and I think I was just overwhelmed from the birth and emotional because I just gave birth and stuff. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down below any videos you would like to see in the future, and like and subscribe.